Hi, hello. I promised I'd do this, so here we are. Today we're playing Roon, the German Tier 9 Tech 3 cruiser. I'll start by saying that I played 8 games last night and all with IXP, but they were all defeats because that's the nature of matchmaking. So, as you can guess, this one will be a defeat, but since they were all consistent, I picked one at random. In this one you'll see me get the Confederate, Wither, and Arsonist. I should tell you that I don't think this is the best or the most optimal build for the ship, but the one I'd go for would require spending 17,000 coal on the spotting aircraft modification in the armory, which I don't really feel like spending. So, what is Roon? Aside from one of the most iconic Azurline voiceovers in World of Warships, only to second to Yukikaze, it is also a kiting cruiser, and a good one at that too, despite its less than adequate armor scheme. So, what should you do when playing a kiting cruiser? It is very unforgiving game style, and that is because your role is not only to farm, but more importantly, to spot for your team, and to do so you need to be spotted in return. That's why you see me playing it out in the open and away from my friendly Neptune smoke. And because it is a kiting cruiser, you don't want to be in the middle of the map, so at the start I tried to rush to one of the flanks. In this case I went to the west flank. I love Roon. No, seriously, I love this ship. However, if you're not able to be spotting while being spotted, you are not helpful for your team. And that is because these fast-firing HE spammers have one fundamental problem, and the German ones more so than the others. If your role is only to set fires, that is great. You see the damage counter go up, but after a minute later, all that damage from fire will be recovered. That is unless your team focuses the ship, which never happens in randoms. To add to the problem is that German cruisers don't have the great penetration on AP, despite how hard they hit. But they have improved HE, so you will be slinging HE most of the time, and after some time the ship will get saturated, reducing the damage, if not outright negating it entirely. So you will be wanting to spread fires on many ships as you can, so that one opposing team ship will eventually get focused by your team, and also so they'll burn their consumables instead of getting the ships burned away. See what I did there? Hopefully they'll go through the consumables fast enough while you and your team remain healthy. So, here's the real question. Can Rune perform and do its job? Well, actually yes. Even though Rune can usually get Citadel, most of the times, at long range at least, it will either get bounced or get overpen. And you can make this happen in two ways. The first is to use your acceleration to either get hit on the nose or on the rear and get overpen, and you can use your rudder to turn and also to try to bounce. Personally, I prefer to play rudder, not only because of what I mentioned earlier, but also because, when kiting, I can more easily use the front turret and go back to straight position to avoid incoming fire. Remember, as a kiting cruiser, you want to be chased, and to do that, you need to be able to quickly turn and shoot and keep going in. And that makes it more important than acceleration module. As a kiting cruiser, your targets are usually the island hugger ships that are not moving much or at all. Those are far easier to hit for you since you'll be firing at 18 kilometers or more most of the time. They'll be perfect ones to get punished. Notice though that Rune Shell's travel time is really fast, so you will have absolutely no trouble hitting a DD at mid-range or a speed boosting Georgia at max range. We should also cover another very important tool at Rune's disposal, and that is a spotting airplane. You should absolutely use it instead of the fighter's consumable. Ships fighters only really engage with the bombers, which you already can easily dodge with your decent rudder, and also because even when the fighters do engage, they don't do much. That's not the case with the spotting aircraft. It will be helpful either because you get punished earlier and you need to be further out without risking much, or because the enemy is running away and you need extra lead, or, as you'll see me use, to hit targets behind Highland more easily, as they seem to provide higher hearts on your shells. You play Roon the same way you play poker. You need to be bluffing all the time. You pretend to accelerate just to go to a complete stop, the same way you pretend you're going to turn, but then you straighten your ship back up. Also, you should switch sides you shoot from, so you turn a bit to the left and then a bit to the right, and alternate and so on. This is most easy with Roon, since they have two turrets on the back and they easily adjust. Still, if you're unable to do so on a whim, you should be pointing your ship towards the corner of the map closest to you, for that is the angle less likely to get your ship broadside to the red enemy. As you can see on the minimap, I have 0 broadside to the west flank. I completely straight to the middle of the map and angle to the west. If I turn to the other corner, which I do, I'll give broadside to the west and middle, even though the closest to me can still get angle against. And this goes back to the whole rudder discussion. When I use the rudder module, if the enemies are shooting one at a time, I'll use my rudder to adjust and angle away as soon as one of them fires shells at me. I'm not using mods, incoming fire alert, or priority target, but since I'm so far away from them, I can easily keep track of who's shooting. Of course, this requires practice and experience and, sometimes, luck. I'm also using range mod on this ship. Ideally, I'd use the reload module like I used to do so in the past, but the current meta lacks any kind of mid-range fight, so that would mean that you'd be one of the very few spotted closer to the enemy, if not the only one. Not only that, a cruiser and not a battleship, because those are all in the back, because they don't know how to use that eye effectively. You'd be an easy target to get rid of, with less HP, less armor. Of course, I'd probably still take the reload module if I was using spotting aircraft module. That is because with that build, you can get short cooldown on the spotters, so you will effectively be shooting from long range instead of mid range, only doing so for a minute or so while your spotter comes off cooldown. If you don't have the Roon, I highly recommend you get it. It is a lot of fun, and it is part of the way to one of the best and most enjoyable ships in the game, the Hindenburg, or, as we passionately call her, the Hindi. In the meta of tier 10 supercruisers, Hindi can easily punish them, as most of the players are sitting still next to islands. There are other ships that can punish the ships like Stalingrad and Petropavlovsk better, but Hindi can do so with no fear from other threats, but that's a video for another time. No, this time we'll talk about the AA on Roon. Like most high-tier cruisers, the AA is at least decent. You will have no trouble destroying planes here and there, but you will not be wanting to rely on your AA, as you'll get struck anyway. You will be wanting to try to dodge or mitigate damage. If you do so effectively, a few times, and the carrier loses some planes, it will get discouraged from attacking you and leave you alone. Keep in mind that we're above the aircraft carrier in this game. Planes from MBR would get tickled from your AA and left. Also, Roon is one of the best 1v1 ships in the game, at tier 9, and that is because it's got a lot of torp power if you can get into a close combat, especially, like I mentioned before, in 1v1 setting. While you burn your foe, you can rush them and torp them with dual launcher torps on both sides of the ship. This made it my preferred ship in 3v3, as I was also using it to grind to the ending. Using islands, speed, and rudder module, I was able to at least torp one of the enemies every game, two in most of them just by W-keying my way into the cap. They either let me get it, or they'd have to get in to make it stop. Easier to make me to close the distance. Roon's got somewhat of a turtleback, making it hard to citadel at close range, but, more importantly, it's got partial icebreaker, so that is not very easy to citadel it from the front. The only problem is that you have short range torps, so you really need to be in their faces to torp. Ideally, you'd be able to rush ships with low caliber and go between them and torp both. You will absolutely die unless they are complete Papega, but you will get your XP, your damage, and you will contribute immensely for the team, for you traded 1 for 2, your team remained healthy, and the cap got freed so that your team can get it in peace. The one other powerful feature of this ship is the hydroacoustic surge. This one's got 6 km detection range for ships and 5 km detection for torpedoes. With this, you'll have enough time to dodge incoming torpedoes, as you will see me do so in a bit. It is so helpful that my downfall ends up getting hit by a torpedo when my hydro is on cooldown. Also, having 6 kilometers will really allow you to get a jump on some destroyers with sub-6 concealment, as they don't know you can still spot them because, as we all know, the average player doesn't have this information. Also, you can rush destroyers or other cruisers that are sitting in their smoke and watch them panicking and shooting torpedoes in all kinds of directions. You should also try it at least once. It's very funny. So, this is Roon and how I play it, and how you should probably be playing it too, at least if you're on a budget like poor old me. As you saw, I had non-stop action during the whole game, making it fun to pick up and play at any time. With that said, I hope you guys are doing great out there. If you want me to keep posting videos, please like and subscribe. If you really dislike them, please press the dislike button twice so you really get your point across. Have a good day, good hunting. PS, don't forget to compliment the good players on your team.
Battle ends in 5 minutes.